Okay, so as a refresher, they gave you h of x, we graphed p of x, so don't confuse those as we progress through this. H of x is the original graph that we found the piecewise equations for. So as a reminder, this is just saying y equals 0, so that's the horizontal line, that is the x-axis. I think from there it's pretty clear to tell that the two values, x values I should say, are negative 3.5 and x equals negative 2, where the zeros are for h, which will help us figure out where h is greater than 0. Now be careful because it needs to be above the x-axis but also defined. So the first time that h of x, the curve that they gave us, is above the x-axis is negative 3.5, but even though it looks like it's above, it's undefined at negative 3, so we cannot include that. So then from negative 3 to negative 2, and then it does this jumping motion where it's above the x-axis from x equals 1 until we get to x equals 5, where it stops being above, but it is defined, so we need a bracket with that. Now, it's not as simple as just saying it's the opposite of this, again, because you have to think about it being defined. So h of x, the graph they gave us, is defined at negative 6, and it's below the x-axis until we get to negative 3.5. And then the union, it's not below again until we get to negative 2. And it stops being below once we get to x equals 1. Because remember, we're given the x values, and it's a defined value below, undefined above. That's why maybe I should highlight that. Since it was undefined above the x-axis, it's a parenthesis here, but now it's defined below the x-axis. So where the closed dot is matters. So what's the difference for, I guess, this question to this question is they stick a little equal to bar on here. So basically it's saying below or on the x-axis, which I kind of prefaced for you in earlier videos and like warned you to be on the lookout for. So now you can include negative 3.5. You can include negative 2. So that's the only thing that's different for that answer. So still negative 6, still negative 3.5, but now we can include that point. Negative 2 to 1. And I'd really say the same thing. Not sure why they went in this order, but that's a similarity with this one. Now, if it's undefined, it's undefined. Like, you can't change it. What changes is it's above or on the x-axis. So definitely above at negative 3.5, but now it's on, so we can include that. We still can't include negative 3 because it's undefined, but we can include negative 2. We cannot include 1 because it's undefined, but we can still include 5. So it does certainly change some of the things, but not all of them. Sorry, I'm trying to squeeze it in right there. And now we're back to comparing p of x, the teal-looking color, with h of x. And remember, this is saying p is above h. So they have to be defined for both. So we cannot include negative 3 because it's not defined there. So basically what we're looking at is the teal graph that we drew above the graph that they gave us, and it is, once it's defined, that's at negative 6. So negative 6 to negative 3, and it's still above from negative 3 until x equals 1, and then the h of x is above from that point on. So let's write that down. Negative 6 to negative 3, but we can't include -3 because it's undefined. I think it was 1. I already forgot. Yeah, x equals 1. And we can include that because it's defined. So where is p of x less than h of x? So the teal curve needs to be below, and it's not below until we get to x equals 1, but we cannot include 1 because it's not defined right there. Well, I guess I should say it is defined, but the defined value is down here. So from 1 to 5 is your only answer for that. And to throw in a couple more questions, for what values x is h of x increasing? That's back to the original problem, the original graph they gave you. So definitely increasing from -6 to -3. Again, I would use brackets as long as it's defined. So it's increasing from -6 to -3, but -3 is undefined, so I'm not going to include that. And then looking at it's decreasing on the next, it's going down and to the right. And then it's increasing as long as it's defined, which is not defined here, so I'm not going to include 1 until we get to 3. But we're back at the problems that I will accept if you put brackets or parentheses with any of these, I'll accept it. This is just how I would write it, and this is what I think most math people would agree with. Okay, but we still need to do decreasing. Decreasing is down and to the right, so -3 to 1, and then from 3 to 5, as long as it's defined. So -3 to 1, and then it is defined at 3, and it is defined at 5. It being h, -3 to 1, and then 3 to 5. That's where the graph is going down and to the right. So again, I don't want you to stress over increasing, decreasing, and constant, whether it's brackets or parentheses. But this is how I would write it. And but if you do brackets everywhere, if you do parentheses everywhere, if you just kind of throw in whatever you feel like, I can forgive you on that one. But a good math book would probably talk about this discussion. So I'm going to end it right there. You should be ready to work on the homework now and prepare for the quiz coming up.